Hey, everybody. Welcome to FL Teams Live. It is the FL Teams NFL Power Rankings after week 6 of the National Football League. As usual, joining me is Jeremiah Hensley, and I am Jeff Macolino. And let's dive into the losers of the NFL, the bottom 16. Let's just dive on in at number 32. Coming in back-to-back weeks unanimously at 32 on all ballots, the Matt Rule-less Carolina Panthers. The Houston Texans come in at number 31. The Pittsburgh Steelers, after a big win over the Bucs, jump up a whole one spot to number 30. The Detroit Lions are at number 29. The Chicago Bears, with their Thursday night loss, fall to 28. The Washington Commanders come in at number 27. The Las Vegas Raiders had their second best week of the season because they didn't play. They're at 26. The miserable to watch Denver Broncos come in at number 25. The Cleveland Browns at number 24. The Jacksonville Jaguars continue to plummet. They are all the way down to number 23. The Arizona Cardinals fall to number 22. Seattle Seahawks at number 21. The New Orleans Saints come in at number 20. The Atlanta Falcons, the 3-3 Falcons, up at 19. The surging New England Patriots at number 18. And the Indianapolis Colts, the 3-2-1 Indianapolis Colts, are our lowest ranked team with a winning record. They come in at number 17. One thing we briefly touched on this before. Frankly, other than probably the Panthers, look at the playoff standings. Basically, every team is still in it the way that the league's breaking out. In both conferences, a 3-3 team right now would be making the playoffs. 2 in the NFC. Actually, 3 in the NFC, 2 of which lead the division, their own division. It is crazy. So, other than maybe number 32 and 31, all of these teams are really a game or two away from being right in the thick of things.
The NFL shot for parity. This is the most parity I've seen in an NFL season 6 weeks in. It's crazy, man. Sports betting's legal in Delaware, so I throw in some tickets every weekend, and it's an absolute crapshoot, man. I mean, there's no way that I would have saw the Steelers beating Tampa. It just didn't look realistic, right? And they come out and do that. It's a funny year, man. And but I think I told you before I entered in my rankings this week, I'd watched the press conference with Mike McDaniel, and somebody asked him the question about, people say that in the NFL, you are what your record says you are. And of course, McDaniel gave the nice coach answer of, I believe you are what you are today, and blah, 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 blah. But at some point, we got to start believing this. And I think we're showing that in bringing the Las Vegas Raiders down. You look through some ESPN, CBS, the other stuff, the experts, and maybe they are. Man, they have the Vegas Raiders still somewhere in the middle of the pack. At this point, you're 1-4. I mean, you are what you are. I think the surprising thing in that bottom half is having Denver and Las Vegas in there. We thought the NFC West was going to be this powerhouse of a division, the AFC West, and It turns out that you've got these teams that are bottom dwelling. But you look at teams down there like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's still young, first year coach, so you kind of expect the ebb and flow, the up and down. I might be guilty of this one. I bought into a good week from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan looked like kind of Matt Ryan with the Colts. He put up some decent numbers, and the Colts get a win. Is it turning the corner? Right? Is Matt Ryan going to be Matt Ryan? I don't know. But outside of that, man, I mean, a team like Atlanta, Marcus Mariota continues to surprise me. When we looked at all the free agent quarterbacks and where they went, who to put your stamp on Mariota as the guy who's leading his team the best right now?
Well, I just thought with him, he was going to the team with no weapons, and Kyle Pitts has not really been a weapon for him.
No.
And they're still I mean, they've been in the 3 games they lost blowing a 16-point fourth quarter lead to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
They were down by 5 to the Rams when Mariota threw an interception in the end zone, and then Tom Brady put his tutu on and got a flag thrown at him to prevent them from getting the ball back down 6 against the Bucs. I mean, you're looking at a team that one or two things each game differently could be 6-0. That's the margin of error in this league.
That's crazy. And again, free agent quarterbacks, you saw Trubisky go, right? Russell Wilson, right? Who else? Well, Jameis going back to New Orleans. Baker ending up in Carolina. All these moves going around, and the guy who's leading his team is Mariota. So, I mean, good on him. It seems like it's quiet. I feel like him and Geno Smith are both having tremendous years, and nobody's really talking that much about it. With Seattle being down in that bottom part too, I think that they're a dangerous team, right? I think they are a very dangerous team. And, we go back New England with a big win. And that's behind Zappy, right? But they're looking like a team that can win. They're getting closer and closer to a Belichick team. And
that defense has been outstanding the past 2 weeks. And they took the Packers down to the wire in overtime too the week before. I think that team is coming together. And look, here's how close this league is. I'll just throw my 2 cents in because I have to say something. You got the Saints down at number 20. They played the Bengals, who are very high up in our power rankings. I saw them on somebody's power rankings be number 5. They're slightly lower on our FL teams rankings. The Saints, without their top 3 wide receivers, their top cornerback, and their starting quarterback, dominated that game from start to the last 3 minutes against the Bengals. They owned that game and gave it up, frankly, because they couldn't make some tackles. And because, when you have no wide receivers, you're going to struggle a little bit to pass the ball. From a Saints perspective, you said what happened aside from the end result, you'd say there's no way the Bengals should be ranked that high. If they both were 2-3 going into that game, so it's interesting how, just the little, Jamar Chase breaking Chris Harris and Tyrann Mathieu tackle down the sideline. Eli Apple just flopping around like a fish and throwing his legs into Marquez Callaway down the field. Those little things make one team end up number 7, spoiler alert, and one team settle in at number 20. And that's how close they were to their records being flipped. Now, I don't think we would have had the Bengals at number 20 or the Saints at number 7, by the way, which, is also just recency bias as far as the playoffs, I think.
100%. So,
it's a thin margin between, I would say, number 7 and number, 24, 25.
Yeah. And, this is the other part I love about this NFL season. Every year, I'm sure it's this way, but I feel like we have more stories, right? Just stories and things to watch. So if we look at our bottom half here, right, you got the Commanders now. Taylor Heineke takes over. Wentz is hurt. So what happens there? Heineke was a little spark plug when he got playing time before. The Lions had a week off after getting spanked by the Patriots. And at the time, we were like, wow, the Patriots shut down the Lions. Maybe that offense got shut down. But then this week, the Patriots showed us they got a hell of a defense. So, that could have played into that whipping. You had a week off to come back from that. The Cardinals, you got Hollywood Brown, right? Hollywood Brown's gone for the year now, and they trade for Robbie Anderson. You've also got
DeAndre Hopkins back.
DeAndre Hopkins coming back this week. That makes a difference. So there's great stories abound through each one of these teams, which makes it really fun. I mean, everybody pulls for their own team on Sunday, but I think we all love the sport because of how involved you can get and all those little bits and pieces, Browns inching closer and closer. We're still away, but we know what's coming. If the Browns hang around, who's coming. And that division could be open when that happens.
3-3 is leading that division as well.
There you go.
That's another one of those divisions. Let's move to our top half here. Preseason, we would have thought this list was drunk. Number 16, the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. Number 15, the Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucs. Number 14, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins. Number 12, the Green Bay Packers. Number 11, the Tennessee Titans. Number 10, the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 9, the New York Jets. No, number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. I'm laughing saying the Jets, even though they earned it.
Yeah.
Number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 7, the 3-3 Cincinnati Bengals. Number 6, the New York Giants. Number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. I hope Steve's not watching. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. And number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Dude. Jeremiah, stop being so angry, man. 5-1 can be better than 6-0. I tell you this. I voted for the Bills first on my ballot again. I did have the Eagles second above the Chiefs this week, which I don't think I did last week. You line those two teams up, I think the Bills win by at least 2 scores. That's all that there is in my mind. Yeah. That's how I'm not ranking them like I'm ranking them for the national championship game in college, where I have the Eagles first. I'm ranking them as in the top teams here on this list. Yeah, the record plays a role, but I'm saying if you're within a game, if I line these two teams on the field and I know one team is better than the other, they're getting my rankings. The Bills are better than the Eagles. In my eyes.
I told you earlier. I told you earlier my Mike McDaniel quote, the Mike McDaniel question, and it does come to a point in time where I think you are who your record says you are. And in this crazy league of parity that we're talking about, where anything can happen, right? On any given Sunday, 6 weeks in a row, the Philadelphia Eagles have stepped onto the football field and they've walked off winners. In a crazy, crazy NFL, where you're seeing the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers make Tom Brady and the Bucs look ridiculous 1 week, right? And 6 straight. So for me, I give the Eagles more respect and love. I think they're in the top spot. I'll go ahead and get my rant from Dolphin Land out of the way, okay? 13, I think is probably, it's right in that range. I do feel like, and on the latest Fins in the Sea, Isaac's putting it up, you'll hear more, but when you look at the Dolphins and go by our power rankings, they have beaten the number 1 team, okay? They have beaten, what's Baltimore, 8, 7?
8,
right?
Yeah.
Let's say they've beaten the number 8 team, right? They've beaten, New England fell back, New England. And then your losses, which you were in every one of those till the fourth quarter, come against the number 7 ranked team, the number 9 ranked team, right? And the number 4 ranked team. So those 6 games have been played in the upper echelon. And Miami came out 3-3, which tells me they're competitive. And, the craziness of the last 3 games that the Dolphins have played, the man who started at quarterback has not finished the game. Right. That says a lot about our O-line. So, I think that's fair. We both talked about risers and fallers last week. How about them Giants? Some point you got to realize they're real. As long as Saquon Barkley stays healthy, they're a different team. That guy is the difference maker everybody thought he would be, and he's been doing that healthy.
If he stays on the field, yeah.
Right. And then quietly Minnesota. Minnesota's 4-1. Or is it 5? It's 4-1, right? They had a bye.
5-1. 5-1.
So 5-1. And they got weapons to the end of time. A great example was the Dolphins game, man. As the game's close, we're bottling it up all day long. Dalvin Cook had like 4 yards rushing on 6 attempts. It was nothing. And then he takes 156 to the house. Like, it can happen like that, man. So it's another interesting group there. How you feeling about your Titans? I know you felt good about the Titans last week.
Yeah, they had a bye week. I believe, I want to check here. Yeah, I did rank the Titans the highest. They came in number 10 on my ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played the Colts. That's kind of under the radar, but it shouldn't be. That's a big game. I mean, the
Yeah.
winner is 4-2 or 4-2-1, and
Yep.
really takes control of the division, the AFC South, which I think's better than we thought it would be probably
Mhm.
preseason. I know we were all high on the Colts, and that
Yeah.
was it. I feel bad for overlooking the Titans, so that's I feel bad about them.
Sure.
The Chargers, I was ready to rank them as high as 5th on my
Wow.
ballot,
Wow. Okay.
and they did not impress me at all Monday night. I tell you what, I'm watching that game, and Justin Herbert's. I a couple times I was watching it with a buddy, and a couple times I actually paused and rewound and said, "Look at this. He's missing his read. He needs to get that ball out." And he several times he pumped and it's like I don't know if he's hearing footsteps that aren't there. He's seeing ghosts, whatever you want to. Like it was strange. It was he got the job done enough, but that offense not. I know they're missing Keenan Allen, which is not
Yeah.
nothing.
No.
Um, but yeah, they have not impressed me. So I mean, I went from being ready to put them in the top 5. I actually had them ranked the lowest. I ranked them 11th on my ballot.
Yeah.
Um, so that's
You know,
and we do
being
need to
one
talk about the very disappointing Tampa Bay Bucks as well. Um,
100%.
and I guess you could just go back and watch last week's episode where I go on a rant from Tom Brady about Tom Brady. We can just splice that in here.
Uh,
I don't. That offense has not been good all season. I know last week we talked and you said you were confident they would come around. I don't think they're going to come around. I don't think Tom Brady's committed to this season. I think he made a terrible mistake coming back. He needs to invest everything he has into playing, or he needs to walk away. And frankly, again, I'm disappointed as a division rival fan that the division doesn't have a team that has not that many divisions do, frankly, but
mhm.
the division doesn't have a team that could bury them early and maybe give him the option of saying, "Oh, my knee hurts. I think I'm on IR the rest of the way," and go, hang out with Robert Kraft and massage parlors and weddings and
Look,
find a new wife, whatever he wants to do.
I'm going to tell you, this is what made me lose my faith in Tampa, and I had them down at like 16. Um, 2 buddies of mine, diehard Steeler fans. They are intelligent sports fans until the city of Pittsburgh is introduced, and then they become absolutely just unintelligible because everything is Pittsburgh's the best, and Pittsburgh's the best, and Pittsburgh's the best. Those guys watched that game, and both of them said, "We should have lost that game. Brady was awful." 2 guys who do nothing but defend Pittsburgh on every level, on every team, screaming about no salary cap in baseball. And that's why the Pirates aren't bad. Like, they have an excuse for everything and still talk about all the rings that they won. Looked me dead in my face and said, "We should have lost that game. Brady is awful." They were like, he was throwing at people's feet. It was just complete. Like, he's done. And for that to come out of there, it wasn't our defense dominated Tampa. They were like, he was missing throws. They were open. Like, it's bad. It's bad. I'll circle back to your Justin Herbert thing. I saw this and I still see it with Tua and Burrow and Lawrence and everybody else. Look, we are real quick to start anointing people, right? We forget that Josh Allen wasn't Josh Allen until like year 4, maybe, right? I mean, Josh Allen in year 1 was making incredibly horrible mistakes. He was athletic and he was running, but he couldn't read a defense. Like he wasn't good, right? Burrow and Herbert have shown that they can be good, but we anoint them so quickly that like, oh, they're the next this and they're the next that we don't think about they're still young. Like this is still season 3, right? I mean, they're still growing and learning this position in this league. And so, yeah, you see things like when you stop and break it down, you're like, whoa, Herbert's missing reads, right? You're seeing stuff like Burrow, you're holding the ball too long, right? And then one of the things Tua said today really was the first time he talked to the media since the concussions, and they said, kind of, what do you take away from this? And he said, I did have to analyze myself, and I've always been the kind of player that wants to make something out of every play. I want to make something out of nothing. I have to be smarter. When it's not there, I got to get rid of it, right? If it's not there, it's not there. The plays will come to us. I can't try to make something out of nothing every time. And that's exactly how he got concussed against Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to make something out of nothing. He should have chucked that ball away, 5 steps before he got hit. But I find that funny is, again, we just anoint people really quickly. And, it starts to play and pan out. I mean, sometimes in the NFL, and it's going to sound weird, it's not hard to be good for a year, right? Yeah. It's hard to be good consistently. Aaron Rodgers, right? Mahomes, now Josh Allen. I mean, Robert Griffin III was the next coming, right? Yeah. RG3. Mike Vick, when he came back, was saving the Eagles. Ain't hard to be good for a year. So I think we got to slow down on all that. And on the flip side of that, Daniel Jones has been eating nothing but crap since he came in the league. And now he's looking like he could be an NFL quarterback. I mean, he's leading a charge. He's not, dare I say, Eli-esque, right? I mean, like Eli didn't blow you away all the time. He made some crazy plays here and there, but I don't know. I mean, Daniel Jones is doing a good job leading a good team.
Yeah. Well, I think people watch a guy like Allen and Mahomes and they think if your quarterback's not doing things like that, they're not good. When Tom Brady's never done things like that. No. Tom Brady, again, one of my criticisms is there's maybe a few seasons out of his career where I would say he was the best. Maybe a few seasons where he was the best quarterback. He's usually been behind at least one of, if not multiple other quarterbacks, be it Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning for the most part, Brett Favre even back in the day, and Cam Newton one season.
Sure.
Cam Newton had one season.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Then he started dressing like a big mama, and it got all weird. I don't know what happened to Cam.
He became a Tyler Perry character. Or something like that.
But here's what Brady did do, right? And it's what you're saying. People look for that crazy, flashy play. They look for the 70-yard, 60-yard bomb. Brady operates an offense when he's at his best like a point guard. And a good point guard back in the day, they understood how to get their players the ball in their hands where they were their best, right? If I had a guy who hit it from the left wing, I knew I wanted to drive to kick to the left wing because that's where he would succeed. Brady found the routes that Edelman, Welker, those guys were excellent at, and he put the ball in their hands where they could succeed. And he doesn't seem to have that same connection in Tampa. Like there's not a guy that I feel that connection with. If I do, it's crazy weird because I feel like every time I watch a Tampa Bay game, Scotty Miller is making a play. Like I feel like somehow Brady's getting Scotty Miller involved. I don't know. But I mean, look, you got guys like Russell Gage who's done nothing. And he should be an unbelievable 3-man. If something looks wrong with Tom in this, it looks half-assed, like he's just not there. He's not in it.
Well, every other great quarterback, and we've seen several of them in the past handful of years, their skill set diminishes quick. It doesn't slowly diminish, whether it's injury or age. Peyton Manning, his skill set, and I think most of it due to injury, but also age and recovery from injury, it fell off a cliff. Drew Brees was the MVP far and away going into Thanksgiving in 2018, the year Mahomes won MVP. Drew Brees was unanimously going to win the MVP award. He hurt his shoulder in the Thanksgiving game against Atlanta. Never had the zip on the ball the rest of that season. Still should have won the Super Bowl that year, but that's a separate story, referees. The next year, he broke his thumb. He had that thing. Never got his zip back. The next year, he had a plantar fascia, and then he fractured 18 ribs. It couldn't do, and it was age and injury. Ben Roethlisberger, I think it's been a couple of years since he kind of fell off a cliff. He was still smart enough to try to manage it long enough. I think maybe Brady's reached that point. I mean,
at some point, you can't keep playing this game at that age. It's not even about getting hit, right? You can't. It takes a toll on you mentally, physically, and if you're going to be the best at it, you have to be obsessed about it. And when you got things going on like a divorce and going to weddings and taking a week off here or there, like you can't do that. I think about, and Brady's done this for forever, but I think about last week again when McDaniel was asked, hey, is Teddy Bridgewater going to start on Sunday? And he said, Teddy hasn't practiced all week. He's not ready. Like Tua hasn't seen a field in 2 weeks. No. Right. And I don't think you can just turn it on and off at that age anymore.
No. Yeah. And Isaac, of course, coming in with very smart points as well. And he's 100% correct. Brady doesn't have the natural ability, especially at this age, to not be fully committed. It's just not going to work for him.
Aaron Rodgers does. Aaron Rodgers can go off in the summer and do shrooms and find himself in peyote, but he's got enough natural ability still left in his arm that he can come back and overcome that stuff.
Hey, we all want to go do ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, I'd love it. I think it would be fantastic. Do you think he would talk football with you, though? I don't think he could talk. No, it would be universal, like McConaughey stuff, right? It would be deep.
Yeah, we'd be channeling other dimensions. I mean, we'd be in a Doctor Strange movie or something.
You'd be discovering the Matrix.
Or escaping the Matrix. Ooh. Let's do what we've done. I almost reverse jinxed all 4 of these over the last 2 weeks. Let's look forward to week 7, and let's talk about the matchups where we see a potential biggest riser with a win and also a biggest faller with a loss. I was the Saints blowing the game against Cincinnati away from being 4-0 in these. And by the way, I've never picked, including this week, never picked these games the way. So it's always hypothetical. It's never who I actually think is going to win. So do you have, looking at week 7, do you have a team that you think if they win this game, they're going to pop up on my sheet next week?
Who?
I'll give you mine while you look.
Yeah, I'm looking down this.
Mine is a team that I don't want to win. They're number 21 on my personal ballot coming into this week, and they play a team that was number 8 on my ballot this week. The Atlanta Falcons against the Cincinnati Bengals. Atlanta, if they win, are 4-3, and frankly, it's time to give them respect. Even though I think just looking at their roster, they don't seem like they should be getting respect. They pretty handily beat the 49ers last week, who people, including us. I mean, look, we have the 49ers 14th and the Falcons 19th. They're 3-3, by the way. The 49ers. I think some of the recency bias, like I mentioned with the Bengals, creep in there. But look, again, the Saints should have beaten the Bengals, and they were without their entire receiving core, Marshawn Lattimore, and they were on their backup quarterback. Atlanta certainly should be capable of pulling this one out. I mean, maybe not on paper, but from what we've seen on the field, I wouldn't be shocked. If Atlanta wins that game and gets to 4-3, it's time to start respecting their record and treating them like a team that, I mean, they're tied for first place in their division, So that's a team to me that if they win, Atlanta's going from 21 on my ballot to almost certainly near the top 10. Probably not in the top 10, but near it.
So looking at this, and I like that, it's very square. We have a big discrepancy between these two teams, and the records aren't that far off. If Seattle can go into Los Angeles and beat the Chargers, if they both come out of that at 4-3, my personal rankings even have Seattle at 19 and the Chargers at 8. Seattle at that point, I think you have to take them seriously, right? And yeah. If they go into LA and beat the Chargers and they both walk out of that 4-3, I think that's a game changer. I think that's this Seattle team with Geno Smith is somebody that we got to deal with. So I think that's definitely one. If we go to the fall, right, is if the Giants lose to the Jaguars.
Yeah, I was close to picking that one.
If the Jags at home beat the Giants, we're all going to go back to questioning the Giants.
Yeah, and look,
5-2.
Yeah, and they're still very much in good position in the NFC, especially losing a non-conference game.
Sure.
But you're right. I had that same thought, and I would not be shocked. Obviously, I'm picking the Giants, but that's a game where it's like if the Jaguars go in there and win a close game, I wouldn't be like, oh my God. I'd be like, okay, well,
I feel like
the Jags are a little better than.
I feel like they play well at home. I don't know why, but I feel like when people go into Jacksonville, I feel like Jacksonville keeps it at least tight and close.
Yeah, and I wonder with the Giants coming off of a couple of big-time marquee matchups, the Packers and the Ravens, are they going to take their foot off the gas a little bit, thinking, okay, now this team's a losing team. We beat 2 Super Bowl contenders the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now it's the lowly Jags. You wonder with the Giants are still a relatively young team and certainly an unproven team. Mm-hmm. You wonder if sometimes those kind of games will creep up on you. I have one, and I struggled to find a faller this week because I thought too many of them were like too obvious. I almost went with the Giants, but if a team loses to if the Bucs lose to the Panthers, they're going to fall a lot. But look, the Panthers aren't going to win. So one I think is possible, though not likely, Baltimore and Cleveland. I had Baltimore number 7 on my ballot. I have Cleveland number 25. I think I'm accurate on Cleveland. I'm not sure if I'm accurate on Baltimore. That's my thought, is having a 3-3 team number 7 on my personal ballot. And I had our rankings, the Bengals are 7, Ravens are 8. I had them reversed because Ravens did beat the Bengals. That was my logic. So I still have 2 3-3 teams in the top 10. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if they lose the game to Cleveland, they lose the benefit of the doubt of they've had a tough schedule, because this is a game, and I fully expect them to go in there and whoop some ass. I mean, to be clear, but if it's a game where they even struggle a little bit, I mean, I'm probably dropping them a few spots, because I'm tenuous as it is with teams like the Bengals and Ravens being ahead of, teams like the Jets, Chargers, and Titans that have winning records. Mm-hmm. I'm curious what the Ravens really are, because they're kind of an enigma. You see games where they look like they got a great defense and they're struggling on offense. You see a game like the game against Miami where it looks like they're all offense, no defense. Yep. I don't know what they are. I don't know. They're all over the map. So that's the one I have kind of highlighted is, man, if they even struggle against Cleveland, if this is a close game late in the fourth quarter, I'm going to drop them almost certainly. Although the way the league's going, every team ahead of them is going to lose, and
right,
no place to drop.
Look, I can't be the only person who saw like clips of the Ravens game and immediately went to your phone or your iPad and you're like, man, who's this new Drake kid? And then you're like, oh, that's Kenyon Drake? Kenyon Drake is still in the league? It seems like that happens every year. He pops up somewhere. We drafted him in Miami. I mean, I feel like that was ancient years ago. For a running back lifespan, Kenyon Drake just stays around and he pops off for 100. Like,
yeah, and he's wearing a weird number for a running back. What is
yeah,
he wearing, 17 or something? I saw
something
it. I'm like,
that.
who is that?
Yeah, I'm like, this new Drake kid looks good. I'm like, Kenyon, like, how old is he at this point? They say the running back lifespan is like 5 years. He's 3 over that, I feel like. He's
Well,
like that.
you know, if you're never a workhorse, you have a chance to stick around long.
It's crazy. But I think that's when Baltimore does become dangerous. When they have another running threat in the backfield with Lamar Jackson, if J.K. Dobbins can get fully healthy to be that, if Kenyon Drake can do that, I think they're dangerous. But I'm with you on that. And they could very well lose that game to Cleveland. I mean, if Cleveland's defense sticks in most parts and Cleveland stays to the game plan that they have, you got 2 good running backs, grind this thing, run this thing, play action, run this thing, grind this thing, they can beat you. And I do think, you don't know who Baltimore is. I mean, you go from, is Lamar Jackson the MVP or is he Randall Cunningham, which is not disparaging. Randall was a fantastic quarterback. But, you wonder about that. There's a couple of games in there. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, if the Broncos beat the Jets, right, what happens then? I mean, do you think like the Broncos are, here they come and all the Jets are falling back?
No,
right?
I think the Jets were fluky lucky.
That's what you think, right? Exactly. So that's interesting, man. And so it's going to be another good week like that.
Yeah, and I do think, in my eyes, at this point in the season, it's maybe ridiculous given the parity and all the 500 teams being playoff worthy, or maybe not worthy, but they'll be in the playoffs anyways, the way things are going. I always look through, even at week 7, and I'm like looking for elimination games. Like the loser of this game, they're done. I think we got one tomorrow night. The Saints Cardinals, both are 2-4. They win, they're right in the thick of the playoff hunt. 3-4 is right there. Not going to be more than a game out of the playoffs. 2-5, I think mentally alone, you're going to be toast. And the other one, I think a bounce back, get better day. The Raiders 1-4 play the Houston Texans. Loser of that game, I think the Texans are done anyways, but the loser of that game, totally done. Big bounce back game for the Raiders, though, coming off a bye week. Get that easy win, get to 2-4. They're still going to be probably a game and a half out of the playoffs with 10 games to go. 11 for them. It's too early. Normally, I think you can write off a 1-4 team, not this year.
No.
So that's another one where the Raiders. I feel like the Saints, Cardinals, and Raiders are kind of in must wins. Even in week 7, they're already in must win games because you can't fall too far behind the pack. Even though the pack is not trying to separate.
It does feel like the Kentucky Derby at the first turn, right? All the horses are standing together. It's just kind of right there, and we're just getting going. Another thing I'm interested in, we just talked the storylines out of this, is, again, the Lions had the NFL's top offense the first 4 weeks. New England shut them down in week 5. They get a bye in week 6, and now they come back and they go to Dallas. Even though they're 1-4, the Lions are another team that have been in every game that they played,
except for the last game against
the Patriots. So I think that's that tell-all, right? That's where did Dan Campbell over this break are we going to see the offense from the first 4 weeks, or are we going to see them get shut down again by a very, very good Cowboys
team? Dak Prescott coming back, who knows if it's going to take him a little bit to get into sync. It's also concerning, as everyone in the world is a Dan Campbell fan. I mean, if he doesn't start getting a few wins, he might not have another year in Detroit. They win 3-4 games this year. I don't see how I don't see them bringing him back as much as everyone loves him.
It's a shame, but you're absolutely right.
I
don't think we'll have a chance.
Big.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have a chance to do a stream with this or anything else, but we're also dancing around the trade deadline, right? So, off cuff, there's a couple of rumored deals or trades out there that could absolutely shake up your power rankings. Talks of Christian McCaffrey going to either Buffalo or the Rams. Wow, right? I mean, I can't in a pass heavy offense like Buffalo. If you put McCaffrey in that back, I mean, it's not even fair anymore. It's just
at least for the few games that he winds up being healthy.
Yeah, until he pulls a muscle, all right, while he's getting on the plane. But that's the big name being floated around. But there's other people that can move. Cam Akers, Mike Gesicki, Cam Akers. Guys who could be difference makers. Gesicki in Green Bay. I mean, I'm making that up in my head, but a tight end like Gesicki in Green Bay's offense with where they don't have a go-to guy, really. I mean, outside of Lazard.
New Orleans Saints.
The New Orleans Saints. I mean, again, but he'd have to take Taysom Hill snaps. I mean, Taysom.
No. Taysom's a tight end in name only.
Right. But there's some interesting things that could really shake this up. They could shake this up. So
yeah,
be interesting to see that.
Yeah, and speaking of Week 7, another thing to look forward to, instead of listening to those boring announcers on NBC Sunday night, the Dolphins-Steelers game, put the game on TV, hit the mute button, pull out your laptop or your phone, and follow along with FL Teams live coverage of the game. I hope Isaac doesn't get mad at me for teasing it here in minute 41 of this broadcast. But, it's going to be, we don't really know. We'll see how it turns out to be, but I hope you join us for the journey.
Hey, I know from out there, any of the Fin fans, you've always wondered, what would it be like to watch a game with FL Teams? Come along. Like, you got to love technology, man. It'll be a good time doing the watch along. I can't wait for that.
We'll have a couple of Dolphin diehards and a fan of football and whiskey, at the very least. Maybe some guests as well.
And look, I know I'm full of all these non sequiturs in this, but we were talking about how wide open the league is. I'll tell you this: anyone who is gambling, it's a good year to take money line dogs.
Yeah.
Right? You throw a small amount of money on a couple of them on a parlay. You get a couple of good odds on this thing, and a little bit can be a lot. There's a lot of dogs this year that, again, are coming out because, you look at the parity of the entire league. All right. Good money to be made there.
Yeah. This segment brought to you by the gambling sponsor we do not currently have.
Right. You hear that? Step up. Where you at, DraftKings?
Yeah. Come on. Come on. Send us that contract. Folks, make sure you are subscribed to FL Teams on YouTube and you're following on all the social medias. That's Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, probably some other cool stuff I'm not hip enough to know. But anywhere you can follow FL Teams, follow it. I think the links are in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Comment on how much you hate Jeremiah and I. That's totally cool. Do what you got to do, but follow FL Teams, and we will see you on Sunday.
Hey, Jeff, I'll throw you one more thing.
Isaac's going to be mad at me for teasing that.
I know. Jeff, I'll throw you one more thing. I'm very proud of this, and me and the young goat were talking about it earlier. You've inspired me. For the first time in 2 years, this week's Fins in the Sea will be videoed. We're going to the video pod. No longer do you have to wonder what I look like when I ran about the Dolphins. You can actually see it as it happens. We'll see how it goes, dude. But I'm inspired from the Macolinos.
Well, hey, no. Look, the Bolts and Bats in the Bay is still audio only because you don't want to see my face, especially when I'm talking about the Rays in the playoffs. But you can listen to the most recent episode wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey,
Shameless plug. I'm getting good at that.
Dynamite drop in. That's it, buddy.
All right, everyone. We will see you on Power Rankings next week. Peace.